Hey, welcome back to the Brother Slim. This is Cam. I am still sick, so excuse the gribbly gross voice. But yeah, we have a fun, exciting Enormity update today. Update number 10, Grand Expansion Spotlight. Usually when I read through these for videos, I'll read through it quick on my own just so I have an idea of what all the content is and such. This is an exciting one, so I figured I would do it just live and for the first time instead of already having an idea what's going on. So let's jump right into it here. Hi Spacers, with just 5 days left in the campaign, we're bringing you something you've all been waiting for, the Grand Expansion Spotlight. Ready to explore what's in store and uncover all the exciting details? Let's go. So, one thing, and I don't know what's coming here, so I'm gonna use that as a precursor, but I really hope we get to see more than just kind of like told of what the content is, because that's kind of what all the spotlights have been so far, so hopefully we get to see a whole bunch of assets, even if they're work in progress. That's great. That's really what I'm hoping for, and it's something I wish we got earlier. But let's jump into it. Grand Expansion Spotlight. Will this be the longest update ever? I don't know. I hope not. These big Enormity spotlights are pushing it in terms of size, and I know people always complain about the length of our unending campaign scroll. Yet, I've got a lot of ground to cover. 1, 2, 3, 6 campaign expansions. 6 completely different expansions, each introducing new intruders, bosses, and suits, new mechanics, design paradigm shifts. So, where to begin? I'll go in the order that they have appeared in the Kickstarter campaign, starting with the Scourge. But first, let's talk a bit about my holistic approach to design. I believe everything within a game should fit within everything else would complement it. I know, doesn't sound particularly groundbreaking. The key thing here is the intensity of the connection. I design games as if I were writing an Agatha Christie murder mystery novel. Everything must fit. Everything is important. Everything, even the most inconsequential detail. This extends beyond mechanics to the game's story, lore, art, and even UI. If something is there, it's meant to be there. And he's not just saying that, like, that is an absolute fact. It's really cool. Like, again, I've only played through Cycle 1 of Aeon Trespass, but, like, the mechanics that are in the very first fight, the mechanics in the adversary battles, the mechanics that have different effects on your characters throughout rather than just in battles, it all comes back to the story, and it's all tied in this unreal package. So I love Marcin and ITU's approach to design. It takes time. But my goodness, does it all come together in a phenomenal way. Why am I talking about this in relation to Enormity expansions? Well, during pre-production, I created this simple graph. It shows the basic interrelations between the many factions we've introduced in the core game, as well as the expansions. I've done this because I wanted every content piece to more or less work with every other piece, and with lore built around 1,000-year-old feuds and eons-long universe scale processes, so I could ensure we could do it organically. Name's hidden. Yeah, I really like this too. So for me personally, I feel like 6 expansions is more than is necessary, but I do think it really fits the kind of modular nature of this game that they're advertising it as. Like, yeah, for me, I'm looking for the narratives, and while all the expansions have their own narratives, they're not necessary to enjoy the game itself. The core game is going to be plenty. But having narrative ties to all the expansions is fantastic and really supports the modular, like, emergent storytelling aspect. So I'm here for it. It's just tough with people, and I get it too. Like, if I had the budget and if at the time, I would get everything for sure. But yeah, I get when people gripe about there being too many expansions, but in this kind of campaign, I think it makes sense. And all the work that goes behind it, super cool. Super cool indeed. Okay, so names hidden. All this is to say that beyond offering our own narrative campaigns, each of the expansions will seamlessly connect with the core game, offering an even richer, base game experience. What's more, the expansions also connect with each other through themes, topic, mysteries, alien species, the Snatcher, the Scourge campaign, and the Grey Death one all intersect at the crossroads of DNA. The Empire and the Blasphemous Species are locked in an age-old conflict. The Gatekeeper, the Fly, and the Ratcatcher all share a connection to some sort of teleportation. The Empire, the Mothman, and Hala have connections to the Suns, and so on. So not only will the expansions work with the core game, they'll also work with other expansions. Okay, enough preamble. Yeah, and just again, like touching on this as a comparison with Aeon Trespass, in the first cycle, there are hints and clues to things that come much later in the game. There's also hints and clues to things that are in 12 Sins of Heracles, which was nowhere near being announced when that game was being developed. So, like, this company really does their due diligence and really plans things out well. Okay, Scourge campaign. Let's go. Oh yeah, there's some stuff. Fun. In the Scourge, you will face an infection of the wall rats, which spread like an airborne disease and then grow to maturity inside you into tentacle-like monsters. The gestation process is painful and confusing as the alien biology slowly overtakes your own, forcing you to change your behavior, even to turn on your own companions. Gross. Similarly to what some species of the cordyceps fungus do to ants. Oh, fun. This will be represented by the infection mechanic, which will influence both your character and their abilities. Not only will you have to fight against the rapidly multiplying war rats, you will have to look for a cure, if there is one. Otherwise, you may turn rat, and no soul black box will save you, as the virus can corrupt your RNA. Oh, gribbly. And there we got some art. Yeah, these things, really horrific. Definitely have that kind of Cthulhu vibe with the tentacles, but then also just horrific body horror. Okay, the horror of the wall rats doesn't end on infection. Once they burst, they begin to roam the ship. They can squeeze through any crack, so like an octopus, even through the microscopic spaces of your suit, effectively ignoring out-of-bounds spaces and red lines on location maps. They congregate, create pairs, then groups. Rat kings. Oh, what is a rat king? That is something in some sort of media or... Rat kings or something, and I think I've seen it's gross and horribly and gribbly and it's rat-like, but rat kings or something, and I don't know what it's ripping off of, but I like that. And grow to enormous sizes, changing the shepherd's center of gravity with their sheer mass, effectively steering the ship off course. In groups, they also begin to show signs of an evolving intelligence, possibly a hive mind. Yep, that sounds gribbly, and I like it. Yeah, so I was curious about this one, actually, as soon as I showed the design. This one, as of now, is one of my top picks for an expansion. Okay, alternative designs. So this is, I think, the first art we've seen of the rat catcher. I like the kind of vibe of it. It's kind of like scorpion or trilobite-esque. Cool. And apparently this miniature is 2 pieces, or it's not just one single thing. We haven't seen anything about that yet. That was a comment of Arson's, though. So, alternative designs. These are probably spacer suits, I assume, doing different things. The cure, in the form of the rat catcher, may be worse than the disease, though. Belonging to an unknown species, this creature, or mechanoid, possesses impressive telephasing and teleportation abilities. With it, it can keep up with its prey, the wall rats, and all those showing signs of infection. Indeed, their sophisticated equipment is capable of breaking down all organic matter into its simpler, inert form. Can you get your hands on these miraculous devices? Of course, if you're strong enough. If you're brave or insane, you can even harvest the wall rats themselves for the wall hack serum, which will allow you to mimic the creature's ability to squeeze through walls. That's amazing. That serum will come in handy as the Scourge campaign takes place in the tight, dark service corridors of the Shepherd's underbelly, in all the greasy, stuffy, and hot crawl spaces in vents, in the dirty, disgusting sewage disposal systems, and in all the spaces between spaces, inside the metaphorical walls. Some of the locations may even be cut off from the rest entirely. This art we've seen before. Very cool. 1, 2, yep, so there's 4 of them. Good stuff. Up close. Oh, that looks really good up close. And then there's some line art for it, various concepts. Actually, you know what it kind of reminds me of here is, Spirited Away, is it? I think Spirited Away. The Ghibli film. Up above, with a shift in the ship's mass, the artificial gravity generators will start to malfunction, making traversing many decks an exercise in 0G. Do you have what it takes to find a cure, deal with a ship-wide infection, prevent the birth of a hive superintelligence, and deal with a relic of an ancient star-spanning civilization that tried to play God, the Ratcatcher itself? For your sake, I hope so. See, so I get that this is the grand, like the grand expansion spotlight, but if we got these instead of the spotlights that we've gotten for each of these updates, like I think this campaign would be even more engaging than it is. Because like this sells the pitch of it, shows what's going on, and there's not even that many more assets. Like there's these work in progress ones, there's some close-ups of art that we've already seen, more work in progress sketches and such. This is new, I believe, and this is new, I believe. But everything else is things that we've already seen, and it does, in my mind, a much more effective show don't tell than the original spotlights that we've gotten so far. So obviously those spotlights aren't the majority. Aren't the total focus of all the previous updates, but like this really sells the idea rather than just being like, here, you get this, if that makes sense. Okay, so Grey Death Campaign. Yeah, like even just like this highlighted a little bit here, like that's great. I love Marston's writing so much. Okay, so Grey Death Campaign. There was once a mighty species whose dominion spread far and wide among the stars. They faced many difficulties, many challenges, many dangers. In the end, what defeated them was the law of diminishing returns. The species reached its apex, both technologically and biology. I'm just going to give up on that word. Then it stagnated, could not advance further without breaking the universe itself, and could not evolve any further. Another piece of art we've seen. I really like this. It's both like really clean, but also not at the same time, if that makes sense. Like clean but dark, maybe. In time, incalculable from the point of view of humanity, their DNA degenerated beyond repair. Was it their fault? Did they make some mistake in the countless eons of their ascension? It mattered not. They were a dying species. Most accepted this fate with dignity and passed. The Splicer and his ilk did not. Their DNA could not provide answers. If their DNA could not provide answers, maybe some other would. In their search for a cure, they have crossed all boundaries, spawned a million diseases, including the titular Grey Death. This is the only one of the many diseases your spacers can succumb to. From now on, viruses is something you have to live with, or not. The Grey Death campaign takes place on the Shepherd in the restricted black site section of the R&D deck, where some old Earth corporations conducted banned research, free from the shackles of international law and trivial morality. Now, the black site belongs to the Splicer. All it needs is new subjects. Gribbly. Okay, so that we've seen alternative designs. Okay, so I think these are alternative designs of the intruders that will be fighting that aren't the boss. Very cool. I like the one that they settled on. It's very suitable, like mutated Frankenstein monster kind of stuff with a good sci-fi bend to it. I'm curious if this is supposed to be the same one or if that's a different one, because the vibe is extremely different than those ones. The Splicer can kidnap spacers to experiment on them, harvest their DNA, and splice in some alien one. The results are unpredictable. Death is the best of fates. Each kidnapped spacer will add to the Splicer's database, making it stronger. If the spacer somehow survives, they will be released back to the population, their memory of the event erased. This is another terrifying ability of the Splicer. They can alter or fabricate memories, make you forget you have even encountered them, forget abilities, forget your progression tree, forget your purpose, make you forget how it truly looks like. Interesting. I am curious about this mechanic. This kind of reminds me a little bit of when they announced their true solo mode for Kingdoms Forlorn, and the squires that you'd have with you would screw your own decision and make you go off and do things that they wanted to do instead of things that you as the only player wanted to do. So I'll be really curious how this is implemented, if that makes sense, because like we play and we build our characters how we want to build characters, and if we are changed, sorry, I have very little brain power with the cold I've got right now. So I hope that makes sense. Like this is a really interesting mechanic, but I could see it being a really frustrating one rather than necessarily a fun one, depending on how it's implemented. But that's a thought for this is going to be play tested a whole bunch. So just something to keep an eye on. Splicing spacers is only the beginning. Soon, you may start encountering spliced specimens of other intruder species. And if you somehow get your hands on the Splicer's clinic, against your better judgment, you may try splicing yourself. Modify your own DNA to give yourself new abilities or traits. Beware, you run the risk of spontaneous mutations. Nothing says zany fun science than spontaneous mutations. I love that that's there. The Splicer may work alone, but has a legion of servants at its disposal. The lepers, other members of its species who succumbed to the Grey Death, now, as mindless thralls, they serve its master. Okay, yeah, so quick thoughts there. This sounds sweet, like kind of Frankenstein's monster in space. Reminds me of Mars Attacks, the really old movie when do people get their heads attached onto dogs. Sounds creepy and kind of like unknowable experiment, like scientific experimentation and spontaneous mutations. Sounds like a blast. Okay, the Rotting Order campaign expansion. The rotting monolith appears out of nowhere, its two-dimensional shape playing tricks on you, creating an impossible plane. The gatekeeper emerges as if from a vertical water surface and sails through the air, challenging the fundamental forces of the universe itself. There is purpose in its every movement. It's looking for something, or someone, to render judgment. It's also running from something terrible, something kept beyond the gate for an eternity. Yet with strange eons, even eternity is infinite. It is ending before your eyes. The seal begins to break. With the coming of the gatekeeper, the fabric of reality on board the Shepherd begins to unravel. First, tears in space-time start to appear, hazardous holes in the universe itself, endangering the Shepherd's structural integrity and slowly ripping it apart, making for an environmental hazard as well as a grand campaign-scale mechanic that can pull two disparate locations together, or break them apart. Interesting. Then there are the rifts, through which you can instantaneously travel across the location, or the ship itself, if you are willing to face what lurks at the threshold of the gate. If you get lost, you may end up in our dimension, a domain few leave with their sanity intact. Interesting, very interesting. Just as a note here too, so the character specialization idea that I had was kind of a riff of Portal and like, what's the name of the movie? Interstellar, their little wormhole jumping mechanics. And I'm curious if we're going to have like a portal jumping suit, because they said like a whole bunch of ideas were things that they were already riffing on. And I feel like this is probably related to like a suit that we'll have with movement powers and such. Okay, so our dimension though, no idea what that stands for, and that sounds very interesting. The Gatekeeper is one of the most dangerous intruders thanks to its potent psionic powers and its ability to manipulate reality. With its glitch powers, glitch, is a Shepherd just some kind of virtual simulation? Is the universe itself one? Questions such as these can cause extreme disassociation and bring one to the precipice of madness. Gatekeepers are often accompanied by a retinue of their coffin golems, presumably its brethren, kept on life support on the brink of death, so that they can pilot the deadly contraptions. In fact, Gatekeepers feel repugnance towards all form of synthetic life, cloning, like your body sleep system, and DNA tampering, which often puts them at odds with splicers and snatchers. When a Gatekeeper shows up, you'd best run. If you don't value your life, you may challenge it. If you outwit the Gatekeeper, you may nab one of its keys to reality. Where will this door lead you? Gatekeeper looks pretty sweet. Alternative designs. I'm assuming this being for the Gatekeeper. Interestingly, this actually looks a lot more like the Splicer. I'm curious if that's a design tied to the species or just like reusing, really liking a sketch and wanting to use it for something else. If you defeat it, with the access to its vast knowledge, you may be able to unlock your own psionic potential, or using salvaged interfaces from the coffin golems, create your own crude cyber implants. There are also energy blades to play with. Fun! And if you humble the Gatekeeper, maybe they will ask you to help stand watch over the seals of the gate. Will you accept and join the order? Coffin Golem looks pretty sweet with the color. I don't think we've seen the color before. Alternative design kind of gives me Protoss vibes from, oh my god, I just forgot the name of the game. StarCraft. One thing you shouldn't do is enter the rotting monolith, or to make sacrifices to it. Although you know that some tribes of the Goatmen do just that and get rewarded with deep insight and disturbing powers, but at what cost? So I do love how he talked about, like, Marson talked about, like, tying in all these different things going on, and we can see little hints and clues of those ties throughout the update. I like that a lot. Okay, cool. So that one sounds sweet. They all sound really good. I don't know where that one stands for me personally, but, like, it does sound really cool. Ghosts of Hala campaign expansion. NCEs, non-corporeal entities. For what the ghosts are, you have no answer. Hallucinations, photonic afterimages of some exotic stellar event, a planet out of phase for the rest of the universe? Science cannot help you at this point. Maybe they are what they appear to be. Ghosts, souls. Are souls real? Divine, indivisible, and indivisible? What does it mean for your soul black box in the body sleep system? Can your bodies be hijacked? Can you be possessed? Is a space exorcism in order? Ghosts of Hala introduces our first off-world locations, the surface of the titular planet, a necropolis world caught in a perpetual twilight, clouded in thick mists and whipped by fierce rainstorms. And you search for the origins of human life on Earth. Yes, you also didn't expect this turn of events, not on the other side of the galaxy on this forsaken rock. You have a feeling you were not wanted here, and that if you stay long, you may never leave. Space ghosts. Oh, creepy. It's like, what are those suits called that you, like, can't move in? I can't remember. Like, for insane people or whatever. But spacesuit version. That is really cool. Well, Sniper Ghost. I think this is like the boss intruder, Phantom or whatever. Hal is full of secrets and ancient technology, both for the taking, either through careful excavation or hasty grave robbing. But watch out where you dig. If you are uncareful, you may disturb the resting places of Halans and bring upon yourselves a quantum curse. Another figment of your imagination, right? Right? The ghosts take the form of Earthborn EVA suits, mimicry. That's how you try to explain it, to ward away your doubts. Your sanity will be tested in this place, and your trials may even rekindle some sort of divine awe in your hearts, making you reconnect with some of old Earth's fates. Does the Salt Circle ward off the race? And if so, what does it tell you about the nature of your beliefs and science itself? The ghosts of Hala are seemingly unstoppable, indestructible, incorporeal, vengeful. They come at you from all sides. And what of the Phantom, the Grim Reaper of Hala, wielding some kind of alien rifle? One it uses as a scythe. Yeah, I don't know if we can see it in this zoomed up picture, but I think it does have like a special scythe that goes up vertically. This one is, I think, in my top 3 as well for expansions. Especially after this description of it too, because space ghosts, like ghosts aren't really my jam, but space ghosts sounds really interesting, and I like the Twilight Rain vibe of the planet. Very creepy. And then the kind of like religious occults, does Salt Circle ward off the wraiths, and the kind of like the space religion thing, and dealing with death. That sounds pretty cool. Glorious Empire of the Thousand Suns campaign expansion. So this is one of the 2 recently announced. In the Glorious Empire of the Thousand Suns, the titular alien empire comes knocking at your door. Their soldiers will invade the Shepherd in full force, throngs of devoted bloodhounds under the watchful eye of revered Templars. They want to convert you, but if that fails, they will cleanse the ship and claim it in the name of their god emperor, sitting on a high stone throne on some alien world 1,000 light years from here. The Empire will pose a unique challenge for the Spacers. With nigh infinite resources and manpower at its disposal, the pressure will put on you will be enormous. Their unique military doctrine and squad tactics will put you on the back foot and make you rethink your approach to the game. The skirmishes against the Empire do not use blips or hidden movement, because the Empire does not need to hide. Only cowards and sinners do. Awesome looking art. Seeing these weird gravity bag things in color is a little cooler if you ask me. I think it's cool. It's very, very unique, and sounds interesting. As far as the mechanics, I think it's pretty sweet that it doesn't use any blips, just as like a very different change up the game kind of expansion. I was thinking about it in comments, and I might have said it in a previous update. Like, it reminds me very much of like fighting off the Covenant from Halo for the first time, where it's like overwhelming military forces and war kind of horror, rather than like survival, like surviving overwhelming forces in a war kind of horror, rather than being like gribbly monster horror. Which is cool. And the mechanics flipping things sounds interesting. Again, I'm struggling with words very much, so sorry if that was a bit rambly. The Imperial armor and weaponry are state-of-the-art, decades ahead of whatever you muster on a Shepherd. Their suits are fully powered, giving even the smaller bloodhounds immense physical strength. Their sonic firearms are extremely powerful and ignore most types of protection. And all of their gear is DNA locked. You cannot use any of it until you break the code. Whereas a Snatcher, Splicer, or Rat Catcher when you need one. Interesting. You'd think that the Empire conquers its opponents through sheer brute force, but that is not necessarily the case. The Empire offers absolution, a life in the light of an alien god. Many take up that offer willingly, many choose to serve. As often as they dish out righteous retribution, the Templars also offer confession and atonement. You know that this is just a psychological warfare propaganda, but what if it is true? An alien god, think about it. Is it not better to serve such a being than go through life aimlessly? Some of you claim it's more than propaganda, that it's subliminal indoctrination, some sort of resonance field or advanced sonic weapon capable of infiltrating and subverting your own thoughts. True or not, the Glorious Empire introduces new types of flatlines, such as conversion, where your spacer decides to turn on their comrades and swear allegiance to the God Emperor. Oh, that sounds terrifying. Similarly, during extraction runs, you may even meet some converted spacers as zealots to the cause. Cool. My assumption is that that's probably like a different stat line for the Bloodhounds. The motif carries over to the overall campaign. The Empire will try to break you in more ways than one. If it cannot defeat you militarily, it will try propaganda, and failing that, it will offer you peace and a way home. And the worst thing is, they can make good on this promise. A comment I saw from Arsons that I quite enjoyed is, he hates the term fail forward from reading as such, but like he loves the idea of progression no matter the outcome. It's like a big focus of King is Forlorn. And it seems from a comment of his on this campaign that that's going to be the case here, where each or on this game, where each specific campaign has various different outcomes based on your choices and how the story goes. So if you mess up a whole bunch of dice rolls, you don't find all the things, you're going to meet an ends to the campaign. It just might not be a happy one kind of idea. So a couple ideas there, pretty cool. And if everything else fails, there is always Plan E, the extermination protocol, using a stillborn of the sun. Well, that sounds terrifying. Interesting. Not like the visuals are cool. It kind of gives me like space Roman vibes, or space Roman Templar vibes, I should say. I do love the mechanics of it, and the idea of it's really neat. But I'm not super sold on this campaign for me personally. But I could see why people would think it'd be really cool because it is really neat. Then Blasphemous Species campaign expansion. So this is the most recent one. This is the last campaign we've unveiled. It deals with an incursion on board the Shepherd of a coalition of several alien species, united in 3 things: the mourning of their lost homeworlds and the diaspora, their faith in the black gods of the cosmos, and their hatred for the Empire. This expansion shows the other side of the major conflict taking place in this corner of the galaxy. Unfortunately, the Goatmen are not your friends. They may work against the Imperials, but the loss of their homeworld and their harsh life in the void of stars aboard generational ships has made them bitter and their outlook warped. You and the Shepherd are just scrap or salvage to them. They will take your possessions, they will sacrifice you to their dark deities, and they will break the ship for parts. Just like the Empire, Goatmen utilize unique combat tactics, making you switch your gears, and gear yet again. Their weaponry, though often archaic or jerry-rigged, is quite powerful, and you will make good use of it once you learn to use it. Okay, sweet, seeing that art a little bit more. It's kind of a fun little thing where, like, obviously pretty gribbly. Like all, there's the goat feet, awesome. And scavenge together and such. I like how, so they're the Goatmen, they've got hooves, but their horns are just these little pokey things on the helmet, and we don't know what their heads look like yet. Alternative designs. Oh, different multi-arms thing. That looks like a shuriken, which is pretty cool. Okay, that guy's pretty sick. I'm a big fan of this one. The Goatmen are fanatical pirates led by shaman captains. They utilize powerful tech hexes, and their dark rituals and concoctions can turn sentient beings into hulking monsters, like the monstrous Wendigo. You too can partake in the former and ingest the latter, but the consequences are unforeseen and potentially dangerous. Through the same rituals, the Goatmen call on their forlorn homeworlds, on the swamps and marshes and the dank caverns of their ancestors. And against all common sense, those worlds answer back, intrude on the Shepherd. The air becomes cold, humid, and brackish. Corridors filled with dark soil that sprouts black alien trees bearing bitter black fruit. There we go. So this is the art of the Wendigo. Cute little goat hooves. Then we've seen this art on the campaign page. All of these look really cool. I'd be hard-picked to pick a favorite, honestly. I do really like this one, though. Or, yeah, they're all really sweet. I don't know if this one's my favorite, but it's one I'm going with, and it is really neat. You try to explain it all. The vegetation is just some kind of terraforming device used as a siege engine. The rituals are just DNA tampering, and the tech hexes, simple hacks transmitted through the Shepherd's wireless network. Maybe. Maybe. Or maybe you've reached the outer limits of the known stars and crossed the threshold into the unknown and unknowable. And we're done. All 6 currently available expansions described in as much detail as possible for me without overwhelming you with information. Now, I know what the wise guys among you will ask. Is there more? To which I will answer, is it not enough for a Friday afternoon? And also, yes. Good stuff. What do we got here? And that's it for today. Wow, that was a lot, wasn't it? Remember to cast your votes for your reward in the community stretch goal. David, Torched, or Shadowman in the comments under this update or Facebook. And while you're voting, don't forget to share your ideas on how you would defeat them. We love hearing your creative strategies. The results will be announced on Sunday, so there's still time to make your decision. At the moment, David leads the way, Torch following closely behind. Will Shadowman make a comeback? It's all up to you. We'll see you in the comments. Yep, all 3 of these are really cool. My vote's for David. I saw some really good comments being like, well, Torch takes it for me because they have such tie-ins to the Mothman and such, which is super fair. That is really valid. But David, for me, just like the android sci-fi vibe, is just too strong to say no. Cool. Holy integration, Batman. Yeah, so that's quite the update. Again, I kind of wish that instead of the spotlights that we've received for the expansions that are already on the main page, I kind of wish that we got just one of these in each update, but maybe that's just being greedy, and doing one of these every single day in addition to the other content in the updates is something that's would just have been not possible. I don't know. But this is awesome, and I think it's coming, while I would have liked it earlier or periodically throughout the week, I think it's coming at a good time now because likely in the last couple of days here, as we're in the last, 4 or 5 days of the campaign, they're probably going to announce the all-in pledges and whatnot. So having all this information will be really good there. And also, as we lead to the end of the campaign and people finalize their pledges, regardless of doing all-ins and such, this will help people choose in a much better fashion. So excited to see what else is on the horizon, especially now that all the expansion coverage seems to be done as far as we're aware. And yeah, it's been a great campaign to follow. I've seen some folks, there was one person who called it a failure. They backtracked that comment after some really good discussion. We're in the lull period. Crowdfunding campaigns always have this, and sci-fi generally trends to fund lower than fantasy and such too. So yeah, we're not at $1 million yet. Yeah, the funding hasn't moved exponentially in the last couple of days, but that's to be expected at this point. It's been a fun campaign. It's been fun to be a little critical of some things that I think could be shown better, but campaign's been great. That's for sure. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time, and thanks for bearing with my gribbly sick voice this time. Bye!